How to Get Large Organizations to Prioritize Accessibility, presented by Frankie Balfour, AliCamp 2021. We'd like to thank our gold sponsors Telstra and Intopia, our silver sponsors ANZ and Coles, and our bronze sponsor How2.
Hi, I'm Frankie Balfour, and I'm going to talk today about how to get a large organisation to prioritise accessibility. A little bit about me. So the fun bit, I'm a mum to two little kids, Sammy who's 5 and Will who's 3, but I'm also professional design lead, working currently at Optus and have worked at CommBank previously, and before that agencies in Australia and the UK. I guess the interesting part about my experience is I'm not an accessibility expert. I'm not here to really tell you, all the intricacies. I guess I want to share my experience of being super passionate about accessibility, watching my kids being curious about accessibility, and how I've tried to get people in these large organisations to be excited and interested, so we can improve the capability of accessibility in these big organisations. I've been told my superpower is to communicate and also to get people excited about accessibility. So I've got a couple of tips in here on how you can do the same. I want to share a little story and something that really mellowed my heart with watching my kids watch ABC, which I absolutely adore ABC, especially for kids. Bluey's our favourite, but they don't have it as much at the moment, but they used to have this song they played between shows, which was I Am, You Are, We Are Australian, and they played one where lots and lots of people used Auslan to sign the lyrics of the song. And now my kids love singing and they love getting involved, and there's a photo on the left of my daughter actually doing the sign for Australia, which is like mimicking a kangaroo, I believe. That's what I've read and learnt. And on the right is a screenshot of multiple people signing using Auslan, the same sign. I wanted to add that in to start because this is one of the reasons I'm so interested and excited about accessibility. When kids are curious and they want to learn, and I feel like we should also be doing the same. I'll start by saying a really obvious statement, but large organisations are overwhelming. This is a photo of the CommBank office down at Redfern, and even just the office, and there's one of many offices. The offices are overwhelming. There are many floors and really wide. It's hard to know who's who, and they're big delivery engines of digital features. And it's really easy to get lost in this big mechanic of an organisation. So how do we keep on talking about accessibility and bringing it to the top of the conversation? Because it's a really lonely place sometimes. And I know a few people who are accessibility champions and experts in these large organisations. They kind of just give up because it is so hard. And I wanted to, I guess, give you guys a little bit of hope and some tips on the things you can do to help that. So what are some tips that have worked in the organisations I've been involved in? So I like to focus on the why and not the we can checklist. This is kind of the what, but why are we doing it? Who are the customers? I feel like if people they could be developers, testers, POs, they're senior leaders. If they can visualize a person and the impact we will make to that person, so the why behind what we're trying to do of just making the website accessible, that's a much, much more powerful impact than just sending them a link to the WCAG checklist and saying we need to be WCAG compliant, AA compliant. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't give you that story that you can really crutch onto, and it doesn't get people out of bed to go to work. Whereas the why, which the example on the left is Nike Fly Ease is the product. It's on Nike.com, and the story behind that is they were asked to design a shoe for people who couldn't tie laces or potentially couldn't use both hands to put their foot in the shoe. So they made a shoe where the other foot is basically holding the back of the shoe while the first foot goes into the shoe. So you can do it completely hands-free. What is super interesting about this is they created it for the purpose of meeting a accessibility need, which was someone who couldn't tie laces. And now it's had a huge amount of interest because lots and lots of people, busy mums, busy workers, are really interested in just a shoe that you can take on and off without too many problems and issues. So it's sold on Nike's website just as a normal shoe, which I guess is, I share that story as well as a story about an electric toothbrush being used as something that was made for people with motor issues, but now is something that mainstream people use. Like, how do we find the reason, the why behind what we should be doing or what we should be focusing on? So my next tip is to get people interested in accessibility. This is something I posted on LinkedIn, and the video, it's actually a TikTok video where the lady who is sitting at a restaurant and the chef brings out a plate with chocolate, hard chocolate on it that's spells happy birthday in Braille, and she starts to touch it and read it, and her face just brightens and lifts because she realizes that someone has done something specifically for her to be able to interact with it without any other assistance. And I guess I use that example as something that gets people interested, like, connecting to that why behind accessibility. What are the other things that you can do to get people interested in accessibility? I love sharing things on LinkedIn or internally of just some really funky tools or ways people have created something that's accessible. I mean, even something like dark mode is a cool feature that now lots and lots of people use, but it actually started out as an accessibility feature. My next tip is to get people to experience it for themselves. So at CommBank we had a Atrium thing. Can't think of what it was, like a little workshop thing where people used to come and try assistive technology out for themselves. So we had a blindfold so people could use a screen reader. We had goggles so people it could be emulated as macular degeneration, only using the keyboard because you don't have the motor function to use the mouse. Those sorts of things that really put people in the place, the shoes, as you wish, of someone who has an assistive technology need. Dyslexia is another one that I think a lot of people forget about, but we need to make things really simple to read, increase bullet points and make short sentences shorter. And even just reading this page, which is really hard to read, you kind of empathize and really understand what people are going through. And I think if you can do that en masse with lots of people in the organisation, they can start to really empathise and also remember what are the things from an accessibility perspective we need to consider. Find a senior leader advocate. Now, easier said than done. Probably need someone with a bit of confidence to just come up to some senior people and talk about accessibility. I've been lucky enough to have a few that I haven't had to convince, but they've already been there at Optus and CommBank. But keeping them interested and showing them that you're interested as well. They can't do everything, but they can open doors like put you on agenda items to present at senior leadership group meetings. They can champion training for teams. They can champion potentially getting an accessibility manager, which is nirvana in big organisations. And some organisations are even lucky enough to have multiple accessibility managers. So it's finding that buddy at that senior level that will help you, and I think that does open lots of doors. And probably the next part of that is with that senior leader, trying to get funding for an expert to come in and assist the teams. So, we've had accessibility managers in the past, and I know several big organisations have teams of accessibility managers, but what happens if you don't have an expert? You've got, really talented tester or developer or designer, just passionate, but they don't know it back to front. They really struggle with being able the go-to person. It's also not their job. So how do you get some funding for people like Intopia? It's not a plug, but very highly regarded agency that I have used in the past. They come in and they are the experts. People go to them and they will give the teams direction, and that's kind of what we need. We need people to give confidence to the team that they are doing the right thing. The next one is creating a working group with people like you. So people who are passionate about accessibility. You don't have to be the expert, but can you find people that are really interested, passionate, have differing skill sets, testers, developers, copywriters, designers, POs, business people who would want to contribute in some way. I've used the working group to delve into some tricky problems. I've used it to send out monthly newsletters with accessibility tips. Everyone can contribute to those sorts of things. You're not talking about groundbreaking projects. It's really like, the hour you have a week that you can contribute to it. But I have seen that has made a difference, and it's been that kind of group where people can come and contribute rather than doing it all individually. Also you'll find some amazing people and really good friendships. My final tip is, if all else fails, use a stick. So this is a screenshot of one of the presentations that Kim Chatterjee and Ruth Ellison did way back when. We're talking 10 years ago probably at UX Australia. They did these really cute accessibility cards. We probably need to bring them back at some stage. And one of them was the very big stick. If the carrots of getting people interested didn't work, the stick has to work. And in this example of, big organisations, the stick is the legal or compliance or regulatory, or someone that will give you kind of a mandate that things need to be accessible. They will also give you a deadline. So I have found that if we have to achieve a date, it's much, much more likely that things will happen at a faster pace. Like everyone, if you have a date, people focus on it. So I'm not saying go to this first. So definitely there's lots of other things you should do. But if you do have a reason for things to be done on a certain date and pressure from external sources, kind of use it to your advantage. Get people in to help you from an expertise perspective and see if you can strive for that ultimate nirvana of becoming accessible and improving the capability. And I guess finally, just enjoy the ride and recognise that you are making an impact. So I show at the beginning of my talk, I talked about my children learning Auslan through ABC. There's a variety of things they see that our generation, I'm talking very broad generations, but people working in large organisations didn't get exposed to. So I guess my parting words is it will start to get easier. Those little kids that understand all these differences in society from a range of things, not just disability awareness, it will infiltrate into companies. Probably have to wait 10 or 15 years, but there will be improvements. And I can already tell from a 5-year-old that she's going to be prioritising those sorts of things. So a little bit of a warm and fuzzy, but something to end on. Thank you very much.
Ali Camp 2021.